Imagine you, John, 45 years old, always prided himself on being a virile, active man full of energy. But suddenly, something changed. He noticed that his sexual desire was no longer what it used to be. Erections took longer to arise. He might have had difficulty maintaining them or feeling pleasure, and the fuel of desire seemed weaker. A feeling of frustration began to appear. Am I getting too old? Is something wrong with me? Will my partner notice? This is the classic man who is in crisis and needs help. And if you've made it to this video, you're probably looking for exactly those answers that I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes. Hello, welcome to another video here on the channel. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that affects millions of men, but few have the courage to discuss openly: the loss of sexual potency after 40. If you're watching this content, you're probably looking for real answers, practical solutions, and not just empty promises or magic pills. Let me tell you something right now. You are not alone in this situation, and yes, there is a proven and effective solution. Before we begin, if you're new here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to receive updates about future videos on men's health, relationships, and quality of life. And if this content makes sense to you throughout the video, leave a like to help more men find this important information that can transform their lives. Back to John's story. Throughout his adult life, he always prided himself on being a present man, confident in intimacy, passionate. But in recent months, something definitely changed. He began to notice that sexual desire no longer arose as easily as before. Erections took longer to appear, and when they did appear, sometimes he had difficulty maintaining firmness during sexual intercourse. Pleasure seemed less intense, less full. And that fuel of desire, that inner flame that made him seek his partner with enthusiasm and naturalness, seemed weaker, almost fading. And with these physical changes came mental questions that began to torment John daily. Am I getting too old for this? Is something really wrong with me? Will my partner notice these changes and be disappointed? Will she think I don't desire her anymore, that I don't find her attractive anymore? These doubts began to consume the confidence he had built over decades. What was once natural, spontaneous, and pleasurable now became a source of anxiety, worry, and even shame. And the more he worried about performance, the worse the situation became, creating a vicious cycle that many men know well but rarely admit to anyone. Maybe you completely identify with John. Maybe you're experiencing something very similar at this exact moment in your life. And if that's the case, I want you to know right now what you're feeling is absolutely real, it's valid, and it deserves serious attention. It's not nonsense. It's not just psychological. And it's definitely not something you need to passively accept as the inevitable fate of age. Now, let's understand what really happens in the male body after 40. Because knowledge is power. And when you understand the mechanisms behind the problem, it becomes much easier to find the right solutions. The problem John faces, and that you may also be facing, is not just a matter of mindset or self-confidence. There are real physiological mechanisms happening inside your body that directly affect male sexual function. As men pass 40 years of age, several factors begin to accumulate and interact with each other, creating a challenging scenario for sexual health. Let's talk about each of them with honesty and clarity. First, we have hormonal factors, especially related to testosterone. The production of this fundamental hormone begins to decline naturally from age 30 at a rate of approximately 1 to 1.5% per year. It seems like little when you think about a single year, but over 10 or 15 years, this accumulated decline makes a significant and tangible difference. Testosterone is not just about big muscles or thick beards. It directly affects sexual desire, libido, erectile capacity, erection quality, vital energy, mood, motivation, and even mental clarity. When levels of this hormone are low, the entire male sexual system functions below ideal capacity, like a car trying to run with the tank half empty. Second, there are vascular factors which are absolutely crucial and often neglected. Male erection depends totally on adequate blood flow to the cavernous bodies of the penis. There is no erection without blood arriving correctly there. Over the years, especially if you maintain poor lifestyle habits such as inadequate diet, sedentary lifestyle, smoking, or excessive alcohol consumption, blood vessels begin to lose elasticity and efficiency. The endothelium, which is the internal lining of blood vessels, can become inflamed and dysfunctional. Fat plaques can begin to accumulate in the arteries, reducing the caliber through which blood passes. This affects not only the heart and brain, but also erectile function. Many experts say that erection problems can be an early sign of cardiovascular disease, functioning as a warning from the body that something needs to change. Third, we have emotional and psychological factors which go hand in hand with physical aspects. Chronic stress from work, finances, family responsibilities accumulates year after year. Performance anxiety rises when you begin to notice the first failures. Self-demand increases. You start comparing yourself with younger versions of yourself or with unrealistic standards you see in the media. All this raises cortisol levels, the stress hormone, which in turn suppresses testosterone and further reduces sexual desire. It's a circle that feeds itself negatively. Fourth, modern lifestyle takes its toll. Inadequate or poor quality sleep harms hormonal production because testosterone is produced mainly during deep sleep. Ultra-processed food, rich in sugars and bad fats, promotes chronic inflammation and insulin resistance, which also negatively affects sex hormones. Lack of regular physical activity reduces circulation, weakens the cardiovascular system, and decreases the sensitivity of hormonal receptors. Everything is connected. And finally, there's also the relational issue. Over the years, many relationships enter a zone of excessive comfort where routine replaces passion, where emotional intimacy decreases, where communication about sexual desires and needs practically disappears. The connection with your partner, which is fundamental to keeping the fire burning, may be weakened without either of you clearly noticing. When this happens, the body responds with less desire, less excitement, less enthusiasm for intimacy. Now that you understand the real mechanisms behind the decline in sexual potency, let's get to what really matters: practical solutions that work. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 fundamental strategies that can recover your sexual potency after 40. They are not miraculous shortcuts. They are not empty promises of dubious products. They are strategies based on scientific evidence, tested in practice with thousands of men, and that address the problem in an integral and definitive way. If you apply these strategies consistently over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll start to see real and lasting results. So stick with me until the end, because each strategy is important and they work best when applied together. The first fundamental strategy is to evaluate and optimize your hormonal levels, especially testosterone. This is the non-negotiable starting point for any man who wants to recover his sexual potency. You need to know where you stand to be able to improve. There's no point guessing in the dark or believing everything is fine just because you don't feel obvious symptoms. Many men live for years with low testosterone without realizing that this is affecting not only their sex life, but also their energy, mood, body composition, and even metabolic health. So the first practical step is see a doctor, preferably an endocrinologist or urologist specialized in men's health, and request a complete hormonal panel. This should include total testosterone, free testosterone, SHBG, which is the protein that transports hormones, estradiol, prolactin, LH, and FSH. These tests will show not only if your testosterone is low, but also why it's low, whether it's a production problem or conversion or transport. With these results in hand, you and your doctor can decide what the best approach is. If your levels are really low, there are several treatment options. Hormone replacement with testosterone is one of them and can be done through injections, gels, patches, or subcutaneous pellets. Each method has its advantages and disadvantages, and your doctor will guide you on which is most appropriate for your specific case. But attention, hormone replacement is not for everyone. It has contraindications, needs regular medical follow-up, and monitoring of side effects. Never, ever do hormone replacement on your own or following internet advice without proper professional supervision. In addition to direct replacement, there are also natural strategies to optimize testosterone production, such as vitamin D supplementation if you are deficient zinc and magnesium, which are important cofactors in hormonal production, stress control, sleep improvement, and increasing muscle mass through strength training. All of this contributes to improving your hormone levels naturally. The second fundamental strategy is to radically adjust your diet and lifestyle to improve blood flow and vascular health. Remember, I said that erection depends totally on blood arriving adequately to the penis. So, everything that improves your cardiovascular health automatically improves your erectile function, and diet is the foundation of everything. You need to adopt an anti-inflammatory diet rich in nutrients that promote vascular health. This means drastically increasing consumption of dark green leafy vegetables, red fruits rich in antioxidants, fatty fish like salmon and sardines that are rich in omega-3, nuts and chestnuts, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, onion, ginger, turmeric. All these foods have compounds that improve endothelial function, reduce inflammation, increase nitric oxide production, which is essential for vasodilation and erection. At the same time, you need to reduce or completely eliminate foods that harm blood vessels. Refined sugar, processed carbohydrates, trans fats, ultra-processed foods full of preservatives and chemical additives, excess salt, fried foods. These foods promote chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, plaque accumulation in arteries, and endothelial dysfunction. If you're consuming this regularly, you're literally sabotaging your sexual health. In addition to diet, physical exercise is absolutely fundamental and non-negotiable. You need to move regularly, preferably combining strength training with cardiovascular exercises. Strength training, especially focused on large muscle groups like legs, back, and chest, naturally stimulates testosterone production and improves the sensitivity of hormonal receptors, exercises like squats, deadlifts, bench press are excellent for this. Cardiovascular exercises improve heart health, increase blood vessel capacity, reduce blood pressure, and improve circulation overall. Vigorous walking, light jogging, swimming, cycling, any activity that elevates your heart rate in a sustained way for at least 30 minutes is beneficial. Ideally, you should do at least 150 minutes of moderate physical activity per week, distributed throughout the days. This is not just a recommendation for general health, it's a specific strategy to recover your sexual potency. Another crucial aspect of lifestyle is quality sleep. You need to sleep between 7 and 9 hours per night in a dark, quiet, and cool environment. Testosterone is produced mainly during the deep phases of sleep, so if you're sleeping poorly or sleeping little, you're literally preventing your body from producing the hormones necessary for sexual function. Establish a consistent sleep routine. Avoid bright screens at least 1 hour before sleeping. Avoid caffeine after 3 in the afternoon. Avoid alcohol before sleeping because it fragments sleep. These simple adjustments can make an enormous difference in your hormone levels and your sexual energy. And I can't fail to mention, if you smoke, stop now. Smoking is one of the biggest enemies of erectile function because it directly damages blood vessels, reduces nitric oxide production, and promotes atherosclerosis. Studies show that smokers have a significantly higher risk of developing erectile dysfunction, and that quitting smoking can reverse part of this damage. As for alcohol, moderate occasional consumption may even have some relaxing effect that facilitates intimacy, but excessive and regular consumption is extremely harmful. Alcohol reduces testosterone, impairs erection, decreases sensitivity, and negatively affects sexual performance. If you drink regularly, seriously consider reducing or eliminating this habit. The third fundamental strategy is practical techniques for desire activation and intimate reconnection with your partner. Many men focus only on the physical aspect of erection and forget that sexual desire has an emotional, relational, and psychological dimension that is equally important. You can have all your hormones balanced and healthy blood vessels, but if there is no true emotional connection with your partner, if there is no open communication, if there is no intimacy beyond the physical, the flame of desire will not ignite with intensity. So, you need to actively invest in the quality of the relationship. This means creating moments of genuine connection, without distractions, without cell phones, without television. Deep conversations about dreams, fears, desires, frustrations. Non-sexual touches that create intimacy, like massages, prolonged hugs, caresses. Demonstrations of affection and appreciation in daily life. Small gestures that show that you value and desire your partner. It's also fundamental to have honest and vulnerable conversations about your sex life. Many couples spend years never talking openly about what they like, what excites them, what they would like to try, what's not working. This lack of communication creates distance and monotony. You need to create a safe space where both can express themselves without judgment, where they can talk about fantasies, preferences, insecurities. This not only improves the quality of intimacy, but also reduces performance anxiety, because you become teammates, working together for mutual pleasure instead of you feeling alone and pressured. Additionally, breaking the sexual routine is essential. If you always have sex the same way, in the same place, at the same time, it's natural for desire to decrease over time. Our brain seeks novelty, seeks different stimuli. So, be creative. Change the environment. Try new things that both feel comfortable exploring. Invest in longer and more varied foreplay. Focus on the pleasure of the journey and not just the goal of penetration. Many men with erectile difficulty benefit immensely when they remove the pressure of needing to have a perfect erection and begin to explore other ways of giving and receiving pleasure. This reduces anxiety, increases connection, and ironically, often the erection returns precisely when you stop obsessively worrying about it. There are also specific mindfulness techniques applied to sexuality that are extremely effective. These techniques teach you to be present in the moment, to focus on bodily sensations, to get out of your head full of worries and into your body full of sensations. When you practice presence during sexual activity, pleasure increases, connection increases, and performance naturally improves. There are scientific studies showing that mindfulness practices significantly improve male sexual function, especially in cases where there is a component of anxiety or mental distraction. The fourth fundamental strategy is to demystify and eliminate the limiting beliefs that are sabotaging your recovery. There are several extremely harmful myths about male sexuality after 40 that you've probably heard and maybe even believe. These myths function as self-fulfilling prophecies. The more you believe in them, the more they become true in your life. So let's dismantle the main ones. Myth number 1. It's normal and inevitable to lose sexual potency after 40. It's part of aging, and there's nothing to do about it. This is absolutely false. While it's true that there are age-related hormonal and vascular changes, significant loss of sexual potency is not an inevitable consequence of aging. There are men in their 60s, 70s, 80s with active and satisfying sex lives. The difference lies in lifestyle habits, overall health, care for the body and mind. When you believe it's normal and inevitable, you stop looking for solutions and resign yourself to a situation that could be completely different. Myth number 2. Erection problems are only psychological. It's all in your head. Also false, or at least incomplete. As we've seen, there are real physiological factors involved: hormones, circulation, vascular health, sleep quality, diet. Of course, the psychological aspect exists and is important, but reducing everything to it's only psychological prevents you from treating the real physical causes that may be behind the problem. The truth is that body and mind are interconnected, and you need to take care of both. Myth number 3. If I need medical help or medications to have an erection, it means I'm less of a man. This is one of the most destructive myths, and it prevents millions of men from seeking the help they need. Using medications like sildenafil, tadalafil, or other phosphodiesterase inhibitors when necessary does not make you less of a man, just as wearing glasses doesn't make you less capable of seeing. They are tools that exist to improve your quality of life. What makes you less of a man is letting ego prevent you from taking care of your health and well-being. Obviously, these medications should be used with prescription and medical supervision. They are not an isolated solution and work better when combined with the other strategies we're talking about here, but there is absolutely no shame in using them when necessary. Myth number 4. Talking about this with my partner or with a professional is exposing my weakness. On the contrary, true strength lies in having the courage and maturity to be vulnerable, to admit that you need help, to communicate your difficulties. keeping everything to yourself, suffering in silence, pretending everything is fine while anxiety consumes you inside. That is weakness disguised as pride. When you open up to your partner, when you seek specialized professional help, you're taking control of the situation. You're acting proactively. You're being responsible with yourself. That is true strength. Myth number 5. After a certain age, sex is no longer important. Who decides what's important in your life is you, not society, not age, not anyone. If sexuality is important to you, if it brings you pleasure, connection, intimacy, vitality, then it deserves to be prioritized regardless of your age. Don't accept this defeatist discourse that after a certain age, you should simply give up sexual pleasure and conform. Your sexuality is an important part of your identity, your emotional health, your quality of life, and you have every right to cultivate it for the rest of your life. The 5th and final fundamental strategy is to follow a structured and progressive recovery plan over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Knowledge without action generates no results. You can know everything I've said so far, but if you don't put it into practice consistently and in an organized way, nothing will change. So I'm going to give you now a step-by-step plan that you can start implementing today. Week 1, focus on evaluation and preparation. Schedule a medical appointment to do the hormonal tests I mentioned. While waiting for the results, start keeping a diary of your sexual health. Note how your desire is, your erection, your energy, your sleep, your stress, your relationship. This record will help you identify patterns and measure progress. Also start implementing small changes in diet. Eliminate sodas and sweets. Increase water consumption. Add at least 1 extra serving of vegetables per day. Small changes create momentum. Week 2. Intensify lifestyle. Changes. Start a regular exercise program. If you're sedentary, start slowly with walks of 20 to 30 minutes per day. If you already exercise, add strength training focused on large muscle groups. Improve your sleep hygiene. Establish a fixed time to sleep and wake up. Leave the room completely dark. Reduce room temperature. Eliminate screens 1 hour before sleeping. Also, initiate a stress management practice. It can be meditation, deep breathing, yoga, whatever works for you. 15 minutes a day already makes a difference. Week 3. At this point, you probably already have the hormonal test results. Return to the doctor to discuss the results and define if there is a need for hormonal intervention or other measures. Regardless, continue advancing with lifestyle changes because they are beneficial for everyone. This week, also focus on reconnection with your partner. Have an honest conversation about what you're going through, about your insecurities, about your desire to improve. Invite her to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Plan quality moments together without sexual pressure, focused only on emotionally reconnecting. Week 4. It's time to reintroduce physical intimacy, but without performance pressure. Explore touches, caresses, massages, physical closeness without the goal of necessarily reaching penetration. This will reduce anxiety and allow you to rediscover pleasure in the process, not just the final result. Continue rigorously with healthy eating, exercise, quality sleep. At this point, you should already be feeling improvements in energy, mood. Maybe you'll already notice positive changes in sexual desire. Weeks 5 and 6. Complete integration of all strategies. If you're doing hormone replacement, it should already be taking effect. Your diet and exercise are already more consolidated habits. Your sleep has improved. your connection with your partner is stronger. Now it's time to resume sex life more fully, but always with the mentality that the goal is mutual pleasure and connection, not proving anything to anyone. If there are still erectile difficulties, talk to your doctor about support medications. Remember, they are not a crutch. They are temporary tools while your body completely rebalances. Continue measuring and recording your progress. Celebrate the small victories, the moments when desire returned, the erections that improved, the intimacy that deepened. This 4 to 6 week plan is not magic, but it is effective because it addresses all aspects of the problem in an integrated and progressive way. You won't wake up tomorrow completely cured, but if you follow this plan with commitment and consistency, in 6 weeks, you'll be a significantly improved version of yourself. And most importantly, you'll have established sustainable habits that will continue benefiting you for the next years and decades. Now, I want you to understand something very important. Recovering your sexual potency is not just about having firmer erections or having sex more frequently. It's about regaining your confidence as a man, about feeling in control of your body, about having the freedom to express your sexuality without fear or shame, about strengthening the connection with your partner, about living with more energy and vitality. It's about not passively accepting a decline that you have the power to reverse. It's about taking responsibility for your health, your well-being, your quality of life. The John I mentioned at the beginning of the video was in crisis, feeling powerless, lost, ashamed. But the John who applied these strategies, who sought medical help, who changed his habits, who talked openly with his partner, who committed to his recovery, this John is today living a full and satisfying sex life. He's more confident, healthier, happier. And you can get there too, regardless of how old you are, regardless of how long you've been dealing with this problem. Before finishing, I want to make some important things clear. First, everything I've said here is based on scientific evidence and proven clinical practice, but each case is unique. You need individualized medical follow-up to evaluate your specific situation. Don't use this video as a substitute for medical consultation. Use it as a guide and inspiration to seek appropriate professional help. Second, lifestyle changes and hormonal recovery take time. Don't expect immediate results. Be patient, be consistent, trust the process. Third, the journey may have ups and downs. You may have better days or weeks and worse ones. This is normal. What matters is the general trend of improvement over time. Don't give up at the first obstacle. And finally, I want to tell you that you don't need to suffer in silence with this problem anymore. You don't need to pretend everything is fine while inside you feel frustrated, anxious, inadequate. You don't need to let this issue define who you are as a man anymore. It's time to act, to take control of the situation, to actively seek the solution. You deserve to have a satisfying and full sex life. You deserve to feel confident and potent, and it's within your reach to achieve this. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I need you to answer in the comments down below, because I want to understand better how I can help you. The question is, what is your biggest pain related to this sexual issue? What do you feel you're losing the most because of this? Is it confidence? Is it the connection with your partner? Is it the feeling of youth and vitality? Is it the physical pleasure itself? Is it the fear of judgment? Write down below honestly. You can use a fake name if you prefer to maintain privacy, but share your experience because This helps me create increasingly relevant and useful content for you and for the thousands of men who are going through the same situation. If this video made sense to you, if you felt that finally someone is speaking the truth about this subject without beating around the bush and without miraculous promises, leave that like down below so that more men can find this information. Share with that friend you know is going through this, but is ashamed to talk about it. Maybe this video is exactly what he needs to take the first step. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because I will continue bringing deep and practical content about men's health, relationships, quality of life, personal development. Thank you for watching. Until here. Your attention and your time are valuable, and I hope to have honored that with truly quality content. Now go there. Make the decision to act. Schedule that medical appointment. Take that first walk. Have that conversation with your partner. The first step is the hardest, but also the most important. I believe in you. See you in the next video. A strong hug, and see you soon. Tentar novamente o cloud pode cometer erros. Confira sempre as respostas.